The Accidental Entrepreneur is produced by Beinhacker Law and brought to you through our affiliate relationships with the following sponsors. One of One Productions, the New Jersey-based podcast studio that produces and edits both audio and video podcasts. They sell equipment for the average podcaster and have even created a guesting kit exclusively for our listeners. North Authentic, the conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. The Healthy Place, the e-commerce site with thousands of supplements to help you live a healthier life, along with natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
So I tried 10 different companies, Mitch, and it was funny that not one of them, or individuals and companies, not one of them can beat my numbers. And I'm going to tell you, I am not a good media buyer. So I've kind of thought that was ridiculous. But until finally number 11 came walking through the door, Big Max, and he totally crushed my numbers. And I was like, wow.
How did you try it? You gave him like a month, or how did you try each company?
Couple weeks. And look, in media buying, you know immediately, right? Can they
so it
beat
should be
my
like,
numbers?
Yeah, okay.
You could literally find out on $100 spend.
Because the analytics, you get them right away.
Exactly. And okay. Cost per lead right away. So
I find it's very common in the digital marketing space. These guys, a lot of them don't know what they're doing. I don't know what it is.
Because there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can be a digital
Anybody
marketer.
Can hang a shingle and be like, I know digital marketing. Okay.
Exactly. So that's why. So anyway, so Big Max crushes my numbers. I used to get somebody in a lead, which would be a woman between the ages of 25 and 45 to sit down in front of us for $12.
That was your cost.
That was my cost. He dropped the cost to $2. so
he knew something.
He knew something. So then, over the course of the next 6 months to a year, I got to know him pretty well. And I'm like, listen, you've got a skill here. You're a one-man shop. My skill is, growing companies from zero to whatever pretty quickly. Why don't we combine our talents? So we did that. And, we went from 2, which was he and I, to 4 for about a year and a half. And then all of a sudden I got tired of 4 people. And we decided what I call blitz scaling to scale it up. And now we're just close to 300 employees. And, that's about 4 years after we opened up our.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
Hey, Mitch, thank you for having me on. My name is Mark Lachance, or Lachance if you're from out of the United States. And Lachance actually means lucky. So that, gives me the right to write a book called The Lucky Formula. I've had over almost 30 years of experience in business, from payments to sports to digital marketing and fitness and nutrition. So I've got a pretty good breadth on all industries and how to blitz scale companies. So I look forward to this podcast.
All right, Mark. So I appreciate coming on the podcast. I guess it was maybe a publicist or something, or a booking agency that connected us.
That's correct.
Probably, right? And is it Lachance? Is it?
Well, Mitch, are you in the U.S.? If you're in the U.S., if you're in the U.S., it's Lachance. But if you're anywhere outside, it's Lachance. So
so you already answered the question was, what does it mean? Because you did put that in your bio. So now we know it's lucky, and we'll get into what the lucky formula is that you've put together. I think you trademarked that, right? But let's go back a little bit and talk about your background, because you've been in the payment processing business, which I'm pretty familiar with. I have some clients in that business. and you've invested in and been involved with a lot of businesses up to what you're now doing. So maybe you want to take us back to where you grew up and where you got started and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Connecticut, actually.
Okay.
We moved to Connecticut when I was 4 years old from Lewiston, Maine, where I was born. But anyway, so I grew up in Connecticut, and we are a pretty big hockey family. My father, being Canadian, obviously loved ice hockey.
Right.
And, we played on the travel teams, the AAA teams, but my two brothers were dominant. And one of my brothers actually played in the National Hockey League for 13 years, which is the Bigs. He played on the U.S. Olympic team in 1990.
Great.
Drafted by the New York Islanders, 4th overall. My other brother was drafted by the St. Louis Blues. Both went to Boston University on free rides, and that left me, as I say in the book, the
black sheep of the family,
the runt of the family. That's right.
Yeah, I went to Cornell, upstate New York, and there was a lot of guys from Canada who were coming down playing hockey.
That's right.
With their Canadian accents, right?
Your
dad probably has an accent, right? Not your brother.
He likes to think he doesn't, but he does. So
I'm sure he does in some words, right?
There you go.
Inflection.
There you go. So from Connecticut, through hockey, then I went to school in Boston. I went to Bentley University. It was Bentley College then. Now it's
in those
Bentley
days, Bentley and BU were like the two most expensive universities in the country. I remember it was like 20,000 go to college, and they were like 60, right?
No. It was 15 for me. I started in 88. I think I was a freshman in 88. So it was about 15. I think. Okay. Well, no, I know that because my father hit some hard times, and he had a construction company.
Well, maybe you got money, or you got financial aid or something. No.
I
thought Bentley was like this first school. Everybody had to have a laptop, and
yeah, we did. It was the first one
in those days. Yeah, right.
We were the first class ever to have a laptop.
Yeah, so. You're like, what's a laptop, right?
So why aren't I a computer genius? Is the question.
Exactly. Oh man! But my wife, one of my best friends, went to Bentley up in. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome.
So, yeah.
So from Boston, then I got an opportunity. So from Boston, after I graduated, I actually got started working for my father in construction, which is my why and what I never want to do in my life. But while I was working for him, I also was building a sports agency. So I was able to build 7 guys in the NHL at one time, and then I had 35 guys in the farm teams, which was the American Hockey League, International Hockey League, and some guys playing in Europe as well.
So you were doing agent representation, like?
That's correct.
Well, it's a natural market for you, right, with your connection with your brothers. So
exactly. But what kind of triggered me getting out of that business was in about 6 months span, I lost 2 of my NHLers.
Yeah.
They
got stolen away by the bigger agencies, or?
I could say stolen away, or I lost them away. I don't know which one.
Whatever.
But I was, and that hit my revenue by 30%. So I was like, wow, that was a shock to the system. And at the time, Mitch, and the payments business, right? So at the time I met a guy who had over 2,000 clients. He was making $20,000 a month in recurring, plus about 10 grand in equipment sales. So the guy's making 30 grand a month, and I just lost 30% of my revenue. And if he lost a client, he really didn't care, because 1 out of 2,000,
nothing
didn't hurt him. Exactly. So, that kind of opened my eyes real quick to the value of recurring revenue and the value of, diversifying
broad client
your risk.
Base. Yeah, exactly.
So that's how I got into payments. And, I had a lot of successes in the payments business. I had actually 4 pretty good exits. One of them wasn't that good, but that's an interesting story if you want me to tell it. So,
no, but I know that business is you can build up a book, and then you can sell the book, part and all of it or whatever. And it's just a multiple, right? They just.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why it was, I saw the recurring revenue piece, not only that, but the value building piece as well, and the diversification in risk. So I thought it was an amazing business. And, but a funny story, if you want a story, Mitch, in 1999, do you remember the .com craze? You remember that?
Yeah. The commercials, pets.com, dead.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
99.9% of them are dead. But anyway, so in at that time, Canadian banks were not accepting online merchants to process payments.
Okay.
And I found a bank in Beverly Hills. It was actually First Bank Beverly Hills that would accept Canadian merchants. And so I had obviously huge ties to Canada. And through the U.S. Embassy, I set up meetings with 25 different hosting companies in Montreal and Ottawa.
Okay.
So, and then this was 25 meetings within the course of 5 days. So that was a hustle. That was a rock and roll.
So basically these hosting companies, they needed people to pay online and they couldn't do it through Canadian banks.
Well, that number one, and number two is their clients who were .coms couldn't accept payments. Right.
Got it.
So through those 25 connections, a few of them were huge, referral agents for me. So I was flooded with clients. I mean, flooded. It was incredible. Right. So the application fees are great. The only problem was the revenue from the transactions weren't that great. But anyway,
they add up, though, right? You need a lot of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. But were you what's called an ISO at that point? An independent service organization?
Exactly.
Okay.
No, I was an ISO. Exactly.
Okay.
But I was the first ISO ever in Canada, right? So because there were no Canadians that understood it or had the relationship with the banks. So I'd met a company out of Ottawa, and they actually offered to buy my company, which I sold it. But at the time, I didn't have a great lawyer like you, Mitch, and it was an asset sale, and I got fried when the stock price went up. I was counting my dollars all the way up to 2.4 million at 27 years old. Yeah, I thought I was rich.
And you were getting stock in the company that was buying you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then once it crashed back down, the IRS sent me a $40,000 tax bill, and I had no means to pay it other than
really cost you 40 grand.
Cost me 40 grand, but it was a great story.
Yeah. You learned,
Exactly.
Okay.
And then from there, look, I actually went to Montreal. I got an offer from one of my clients, and he wanted to build a massive company. So in 2001, September 10th, 2001, you remember that day?
Yeah.
I remember the 11th. So I moved on
my mom's
September
birthday,
10th.
September 10th.
Oh,
you moved on my mom's birthday.
There you go. Yeah. And, we launched a company called Pivotal Payments. We built it from, 3 people to 250 within about 2 years. And that's really where I learned how to build companies, how to scale companies, and how to manage staff. I'd never managed staff before, but.
So that was a processing company that was like dealing with the ISOs?
No, we were actually at first an aggregator, if you remember that term,
yeah.
like 2Checkout, or actually PayPal is an aggregator, started that way. And then we also became an ISO of several banks.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you were you were like signing up reps and stuff that would bring accounts on?
Well, we had telemarketers. So I set up a telemarketing team to telemarket merchants and reps as well. So
you're doing both. You were doing B2B and then the reps. Okay.
Exactly.
Correctly. Exactly. Okay, cool. So that was, what year was that?
That was 2001 to 2006. And then I sold for almost 6. So I sold my shares and then did the intelligent move, Mitch, of putting everything I had into a real estate deal in 2006.
Perfect.
Remember the year? Perfect timing, right?
2006 to 2008 was a great time to be putting money into real estate.
But I put it all on red, and needless to say, I didn't do a lot of due diligence on my business partner. And 2007 happened, the crash, boom.
Yeah.
So I find myself ended 2007 with zero in the bank, hemorrhaging cash, and deep depression and anxiety. And
yeah, you're a resilient guy, though. I mean, how many times I got to knock you down, and you're like, well, okay, I got to get up.
Let's hope I minimize those moving forward.
Right. Well, isn't that what we try to do? Like, we all make mistakes. You just want to avoid the big ones.
That's right.
Which you didn't. And that, but I mean, look, investing in 2009 would have been great, but you did it like
I did it the wrong time, Mitch. What do you want to say?
Timing is everything.
But then, obviously with negativity comes your biggest learnings. And I have to say, to this day, that is the biggest learning I've ever had. I learned a lot about myself, a lot about leadership, a lot about, asking the right questions about, asset allocation, about risk, about a lot of
things. At that point, you were out of the payments business at that point? Totally sold out?
Temporarily, yes, totally sold out, temporarily out. And then, when you're at your, I guess when you're in the depths of hell, you got to look at what you know, right? What you know, exactly.
Yeah. So you went back into the payments business.
I went back into the payments business. I actually called a friend of mine in New York, and I think you're from New York, Nick. I think.
Yeah, New York, New Jersey. Yep.
So I called a buddy in New York, and he says, "Hey, just so happens my friend Jeff just did a deal with a Canadian bank, and they're running their portfolio, and they need a guy to run their operation in Canada." So I'm like, well, this could be perfect. I said, and he says, but here's the kicker. You're going to need to invest some cash they want an equity partner. I'm like, well, I'm pretty much broke. I don't know how I'm going to do that.
You needed a job.
That's right.
Right. Now were you living in Canada at this point?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in Montreal.
I apologize if you hear that. There's some drilling going on in my building or something.
That's all right. I have a couple of kids over there, so I'm surprised you haven't heard them.
No, can you hear that drilling?
Yeah, now I can.
Now that I said it, yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll see how well the mics work, but
yeah,
I don't know what the hell that is. So, okay. So you said you were okay. You said you were living up there or no?
Yeah, I was in Montreal, living in Montreal. It's from 2001 to actually up until last August. I was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll get to.
And that's where the bank was. It was in Montreal.
It was CIBC actually. So CIBC headquarters in Toronto.
Okay.
But they did a deal. So they were managing their portfolio, literally. So they did a deal with the bank and they wanted to grow it. And they needed somebody to run the operation, but they wanted an equity partner. So I had to get creative on how was I going to raise $200,000? And I got really creative by selling shares in a company that I didn't yet own. So
that's good.
But you can do that, Mitch, if you have good credibility in an industry. And
that's how these blank shell companies make money, right? They're investing in the guy. They're going to say, all right, Mark, we like you. Here's money. Go out and find us a company. And well, at least you had the company, though. You had the business. It wasn't like it wasn't blank check.
That's right. But I didn't own the shares yet. They
didn't need to know that.
You're right. They didn't need to know that.
It's just an order of operations, right? So you would own the shares. It's just that you didn't know it right then.
Exactly. Yeah, but in the end, all the I'll call them angels. All the angel investors, got a tremendous return on their capital. So all was good in the end. So
so you came in as an equity partner with the bank. The bank?
No. With the guys in New York with our business partner.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So, from there, I call it blitz scale the business again. So I was the first employee and built it up to 215 employees within about a year and a half. And another big learning experience came. So I was the head of the ship, and oftentimes, and I call it the entrepreneur's dilemma. Mitch, maybe you went through this one day in your career. Yeah. But oftentimes an entrepreneur or the CEO, they often feel where they're the smartest or the best, or they have to be the best and know everything that's going on. And so it was a year and a half into this, into the launch of the company. And it was December of 2010, sitting at my desk, looking at my inbox, and the number probably escapes me, but I want to say it was 1,000 unopened emails. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to get through all this? This company's running me. I'm not running it. And so, I had to really get a coach and get a mentor and drop my ego and figure out what the problem was and why my company why I was, so fried and why I wanted to basically hang up my skates and walk away from a company I just launched and that was doing incredibly well. But I found out that, after going to Tony Robbins Business Mastery and then Dan Sullivan, strategic coach.
Sure. Dan Sullivan. Yeah.
That I was the problem. So oftentimes the entrepreneur finds out that, look, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Hire the best person and let them do their job.
Yeah.
And look, that's a key to growing a business fast, quickly. Blitz scaling is hire the best, get out of the way, let them do the job. Let them do what they do best. And leave your ego at the door.
Right.
And
that's a big problem.
That's a huge problem. And I've got
to get out of your own way.
Exactly. Or get out of their way as well, right? Get out of your own way, get out of their way, let them do it. So, we scaled the company up from there and I was able to get a very successful exit in 2016.
Now, so that kind of business, I know it's all relationships. So you're looking for businesses, you're looking for reps. How are you growing it that fast with that many employees? Like, what are you doing to grow it that fast?
We had a
salespeople or?
Okay. Yeah, no, exactly. We had a call center generating leads for our sales reps, our non-salaried sales reps on the road.
All commission based.
All commission, right? Okay. But we also had an internal sales staff, internal telemarketers that were and we also had a independent ISOs as well. So, we had different cost structures for each. So the agents would get cost structure X, the ISO would get, which is an independent sales organization. Right. And then our internal staff. So we had a 3-pronged approach on the marketplace.
Right. But you also had capital, right? So you needed money to be able to hire the people to put them in place. Sometimes look, bootstrapping is good sometimes for a business, but sometimes if you really want to grow fast,
That's right.
You need to bring in outside capital.
Well, we brought in, so the deal with my partners in New York was they put in X amount and I put in, the initial 200,000. So they put in, in the end, I want to say that the full number they put in was like 2.5 million. And it took us, which was tough for me to comprehend at the time, but it took us 24 months to hit break even. But in that industry, it's commonplace. It's, look, you're hiring staff. And every single merchant you bring in brings in $150 a month and $150. Right, a little
bit. Right, it takes a long time to build up. Yeah,
that's right. So it was a 24-month, return on our or break even, and then from there went profitable. But that was watching the red for 24 months in a row was difficult thing to do. Let me tell you.
I'm sure. Well, look, your friend who introduced you to the business, he wasn't making $20,000 a month to start.
That's right.
It took him a long time to build up 2,000 accounts,
Exactly.
And I'm sure that wasn't the original 2,000. Some dropped off, some came on, whatever.
Exactly.
Go out of business. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So that puts us where?
That puts us to 2016.
Okay.
So in 2016, I then sell the business successfully.
Okay.
And,
you owned the 200,000. You owned what percentage?
I own 30% of the company.
Okay. Well, that's a good deal.
So, yeah. You can do the math. What do you think the company is worth? X amount, blah, blah, blah. So I got 30% of it. It was a good deal. I'm pretty happy.
Okay.
Or I was happy at the time. And then
made up for the other two screw ups
for the other colossal failure, right?
Exactly. Well, that's what happens, right? You fail your way to success. It's true.
It's the only way, Mitch. It's the only way.
Well, you don't learn enough the other way. Because the other way, you're just going to be a little successful, and then maybe that's all you get. If you fail and you learn and you grow, then you can hit the big stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% right. I don't think there's any other way unless your name is Elon Musk and you don't fail at anything, right?
He must have before PayPal, didn't he? He always was successful?
No, he failed. He's failed many times.
Of course. He hit it big time then. Of course.
Exactly.
Cuban's the same way. Mark Cuban's the same way. And he hit it big with that. Yeah. So
exactly.
And they're big risk takers. Okay. So you're still in Montreal at this point. No, Toronto, right?
No, Montreal. Still in Montreal. And at that time, my wife was running a fitness and nutrition business called Fit Club 24. So I jumped over and started
like personal training, stuff.
Yeah, it was sort of a group classes combined with nutrition. Actually, the company grew very quickly. It was doing quite well until COVID basically put a bullet in that business. But the point is that was and still is actually a recurring revenue business on the nutrition. So it's still generating significant amount of capital on a monthly basis or profit.
People buy products from you on a monthly subscription. Got it.
Exactly. So that's a great business. But anyway, 6 months to a year into that, I was like, I saw kind of a ceiling on that business. And I'm like, look, I want to do something big. I like doing big things. And, this isn't big enough. So I met a guy in digital payments. Digital marketing. Okay. And the guy was a genius Facebook marketer. Okay. And I had been doing at the nutrition center, I had been doing the Facebook ads myself. So I was buying the media. And I thought how ridiculous that is that the guy, running the shop and at the head of the room is buying the media. I need to get somebody.
Right.
So I tried to, But
you learned it all yourself, basically, how Facebook worked, the ads, the whole thing. Yeah,
exactly. At first I did, but then, obviously if you want to scale a business, you can't.
It's not a good use of your time. Right. Absolutely.
Exactly. I have to do what I do best. So I tried 10 different companies, Mitch, and it was funny that not one of them, or individuals and companies, not one of them can beat my numbers. And I'm going to tell you, I am not a good media buyer. So I've kind of thought that was ridiculous. But until finally number 11 came walking through the door, Big Max, and he totally crushed my numbers. And I was like, wow.
How did you try it? You gave him like a month, or how did you try each company?
Couple weeks. And look, in media buying, immediately, right? Can they
so it should be like,
numbers?
Yeah. Okay.
And you could literally find out on $100 spend.
Because the analytics, you get them right away.
Exactly. And cost per lead right away. So
I find it's very common in the digital marketing space. These guys, a lot of them don't know what they're doing. I don't know what it is.
because there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can be a digital
Anybody
marketer.
can hang a shingle and be like, I know digital marketing. Okay.
Exactly. So that's why. So anyway, so Big Max crushes my numbers. I used to get somebody in, a lead, which would be a woman between the ages of 25 and 45, to sit down in front of us for $12.
That was your cost.
That was my cost. He dropped the cost to $2. so
he knew something.
He knew something. So then, over the course of the next 6 months to a year, I got to know him pretty well. And I'm like, listen, you've got a skill here. You're a one-man shop. My skill is, growing companies from zero to whatever pretty quickly. Why don't we combine our talents? So we did that. And, we went from 2, which was he and I, to 4 for about a year and a half. And then all of a sudden I got tired of 4 people. And we decided what I call blitz scaling to scale it up. And now we're just close to 300 employees. And, that's about 4 years after we opened up shop.
So it's a digital marketing agency is what it is.
Digital marketing. Well, we're more performance. You can call it digital marketing, but we use social to drive to certain clients and, certain strategies. And so we're a performance marketer.
Right. So you're developing and managing their social media campaigns, right? It's basically on different platforms.
Well, yeah, exactly. Except we don't have our clients are more vertical approach. So, for example, we're in the lending space, or we're in insurance, or we're not in legal, Mitch, but we'd love to be in legal, but the platforms don't like it. So,
I'm not. I've struggled with that. I've had some. I mean, there's some areas where you can do well, like in divorce or in collections. I mean, there's some areas of law that lend themselves a little bit, but it's difficult.
There's big business in mass tort. I've got a couple friends that are in
personal injury, right? Sure,
exactly. They're doing and class action suits as well. So they're doing big business, and they're using social and digital to drive tons of leads.
And they're a national firm, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so they're working in all jurisdictions. So you get a guy like me, I New Jersey, that's it. So I can't, for the most part. So I can't. Yeah. So, but you can do. I guess you can drive anything locally, right? It doesn't have to.
Well,
be
we
nationwide.
No, exactly. You can geolocate. Where you want to drive your leads. I mean, we wouldn't take just a state deal. We want national because we want to go, mass. But anyway, that's kind of where we focus. We focus on big verticals that drive nationally and internationally as well.
So, where do you think your business acumen comes from? Because I mean, you don't have your MBA, right? I mean, you went to college, but
of course I have an MBA. I have an MBA of getting my ass kicked all the time.
Right, exactly. You have an MBA in life. But my point is that I meet, I just like you do, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And some entrepreneurs, and they probably shouldn't be called entrepreneurs, they just be called business owners, figure something out, like a particular business, right? And they're good at it. And then they exit, or the market changes or whatever, and they do something else and they fail because they don't have the skills that are transferable to say, well, I just know how to sell. I know how to develop and build businesses. Where do you think that acumen? Because clearly you're good at that. You're in different industries. Digital marketing has nothing to do with payment processing, except for the fact that you're marketing your services, right? So where do you think that acumen comes from?
I think it's a willingness to, be open-minded, to listen to people, to be coachable, to accept a mentor, to do personal development, to go to events. Like, for example, I've been to, over the last decade, I've probably spent, I'm going to call it $500,000 on personal development and coaching and attending. Right.
Sure.
So, most recently, what's the most recent event that I've attended? Dave Asprey's biohacking event. It's not really, it is about business, because if I'm in better health and better shape and, my energy levels are a 10 on 10, then I'm leading better. So,
right. But that was more personal development.
Yeah. Personal development. Yeah. But I think personal development.
Yeah. It's all, I feel the same way as you do. It's all intertwined. You're healthy. It works, because I'm thinking about business 24 hours a day too. It's just the way I'm wired, so I just do it from the legal standpoint, but I'm always curious as to like what, how you got there. So I appreciate that.
Well, here's another point, right? So of the 3 brothers, right? So we, one brother played hockey in the NHL 13 years, and he made quite a sum of money, but he's not a businessman per se, right? So he's back
skate.
in hockey.
Like there's no tomorrow.
He could play. He could put the puck in the net. But he's not right now. He's not a business guy, but he works for the Devils. He scouts for the Devils and he likes it. Now, the younger brother is a pretty good business guy. He's in real estate. He's got a virtual assistant company in the Philippines that we hired, I think, about 30 of his assistants for us.
Right.
So he's a business guy as well. So are you born with it? Can you learn it? I think it's maybe a little bit of both.
But he didn't go to business school. He played in hockey, retired, and
exactly
had money.
Here's the point. You don't need to go to business school to learn if you're willing.
There's zero correlation, by the way.
If your bookshelf looks like mine does right there, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can teach yourself stuff. I'm not telling people don't go to college and don't get an education. You should, but there's no correlation between success. I mean, there's plenty of people that graduated Harvard, Yale, and Stanford and all these schools, and they're not that successful.
That's right.
Plenty of those. And there's plenty of people that, did the life hard. Look, I had dinner with a friend of mine last night and he's got 3 or 4 businesses. He's very successful, goes to all kinds of mastermind groups, always educating himself. I don't think he even went to college. I don't think he did. So, but he's one of the more successful guys that I know because he wants to learn and he knows that he doesn't know everything, and I think you recognize that very early on. And that's probably your biggest strength.
Exactly.
It's like, I shouldn't be doing this. Holy shit. I mean, people say that all the time. And you're right. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you said people get so caught up with feeling that they have to be the person that does everything, that knows everything. That doesn't really make you a leader. Make you a leader is kind of delegating, getting everyone else to do it.
Exactly. And that's a recipe for stress and disaster and no fun. I mean, it's not fun at all.
Heart attack when you're young. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I think, can we talk about the lucky formula that you developed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Let's do it.
So it's a book called The Lucky Formula that I released in November. It hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list shortly thereafter. Amazon bestseller list.
Okay. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Amazon and Audible. And actually, before I get into the book,
Audible. I love that.
There you go. Everybody loves that now. Nobody wants to read anymore. They want to listen.
Yeah, I'm going to mark that down.
Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to get into podcasting? Maybe to market your business for your own enjoyment or because you have a message you want to get out there. One of One Productions is a New Jersey-based studio just over the George Washington Bridge that caters to the booming business of podcasting. They offer a comfortable atmosphere using the latest technology available to record your podcast. And they are a full-service media company offering both audio and video production services, creating both audio and video podcasts as well as video shorts for business and personal use. Professional audio equipment packages are available through their website for all budgets, and be sure to check out their podcast guesting kit, created specially for our listeners. Care for your health, care for the planet, and look flippin' great doing it. North Authentic is a conscious hair care marketplace offering the cleanest brands from around the world. Their pro stylists curate only the most fabulous non-toxic hair products with better-for-you shampoos, serums, masks, and more that actually give you gorgeous hair without hurting your health or the planet. Hey, you've only got one life, one planet, and one glorious mane. Might as well treat them all as best you can, right? Try a 100% clean hair care routine prescribed just for you using their link in the show notes. If you don't see a big, beautiful difference in how your hair looks and feels, you can tell them they're crazy. Do you battle chronic pain, stress, anxiety, or depression? Well, if you take any supplements or you're interested in natural alternatives, you need to know about FindYourHealthyPlace.com. Find Your Healthy Place has thousands of supplements to help you live a better quality of life, as well as natural solutions for chronic pain, stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, and much, much more. Need guidance? Use their live chat feature and talk to a wellness consultant right on their website. And be sure to use our coupon code TAEPodcast for all your purchases to get the best prices at FindYourHealthyPlace.com. Follow their links in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show.
And the voice is...
Do you do it?
Yours truly, yeah.
Nice. See, I have that the author does. I don't think if you're going to do an Audible book, you got to do it yourself. I don't want to listen to some guy know who he is reading your book. I could do that. and then play it back to myself. Like, I want
you have a voice. I think you're going to do my book next, Mitch. Your voice is great.
We'll see. I don't know if that's going to play we'll do an experiment. We'll see if your book now in your voice, because you're the author, if it sells as well as when me reading your book.
There you go.
I think there's something to be said. You wrote the book. You know what it means. You know what the inflections are. You know the message you want to get across. And I think when you read the book, it comes across differently than someone else doing it for you.
I have to agree with you, but I will tell you that I recently am reading or listening to Ray Dalio's new book. And he does the first chapter, but after that, he's getting up there in age, right? So I will tell you.
Harder. Okay.
I'll tell you, it's a difficult thing because I was in the studio for, I want to call it 20 hours. And my brain was completely fried.
Hard. So you want me to be in the studio for 20 hours and my brain will be fried.
There you go.
You're like, you do it. I'll pay you, Mitch. Look, I love Malcolm Gladwell's stuff and he does all of his own stuff. And he even kind of makes them like podcasts. And I'm sure the editing, he must spend hours when he's reading, days, weeks.
Exactly. It's a long time. It's a long process.
Yeah. But you're asking people to buy your book and to listen to you. I think it's more of an impact when it's your own.
I think you're right. But I'll tell you this, by doing it yourself, I'm not going to say learn the content because you already know, but it really ingrains the content in your head. I mean,
definitely.
You wrote it.
Yeah. Reading it out loud, big time.
Exactly. It was so that, that's kind of an eye opener for me that when I read a book, now to read it out loud. So what I do is I read the book itself, I read it out loud and listen, and that'll really ingrain it.
Huge impact. Right. Definitely. It's like writing things down, right? You can say, it, and you might, but it doesn't really get ingrained until you actually write it down. That's why you write down your goals, not because it's some magic. It's because you write things down. Your mind commits things more in your memory when you write them down.
Exactly.
That's not, yeah. Okay, cool.
You didn't have to go to Cornell to learn that, did you?
That's for sure. I wonder why I went to Cornell. It was like, Cornell was so hard for me. I grew up in this little town. It was like you lit me on fire with gasoline and threw me into an alley for 4 years. It was not, it was hard. I was part of the half of the class that made the other half possible. You know what that expression is?
Yeah, I do. I do.
So
other side of the bell curve.
I know you're impressed that I went to Cornell and everything, but it's not.
I am impressed.
Not that impressive. So yeah. Okay, so we're back to the formula. So tell me how you developed it, what it is.
So before we get into that, I'm going to give your listeners a gift.
Ooh, love it.
The gift, which is the Lucky Quiz.
Okay.
So it's a quiz that measures your luck factor or your luck score. Okay. It's on a scale of 1 to 100, and it basically the higher the better, the luckier you are, and it also gives you tips and tricks on if your score is low on how to increase your luck. Okay. Your ability to attract luck. So you can go to the theluckyformula.com /quiz. So again, it's theluckyformula.com /quiz.
Okay. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Awesome. So
cool.
And it's free, and it's actually quite fun to find out how lucky you are, Mitch. I'd like to know.
Well, luck is, you make luck. I mean, you don't just like buy a lotto ticket and you're lucky and you're going to win $400 million. I'm a big believer that you play in traffic, you're going to get hit. And that's what it is. And I think is that basically what you're measuring? Like your chance to create your own luck?
It's about stacking the odds in your favor and cashing in on success, right? So good. It's 20. So the lucky formula is internal mastery plus external mastery, internal condition mastery plus external condition mastery plus action equals luck. So I plus E plus A equals luck.
Right. And the interaction of all those things creates what people think is lucky, but it's really not. It's because they worked hard and it all kind of came together. I mean, a little bit of luck, just totally random, but most of the time you're right. You make it. Well, so I'll give you a couple of examples from, internal mastery. So for example, mastering your brain or that voice or that crazy, so the example, the story is when I was, started my company, my payments company in 2009 after the crash, after I was bankrupt. And it took us 24 months to get back to profitability. Those 24 months were tough. So I remember, waking up at 3 a.m. and, the voice in your head, oh my God, I'm going to get fired tomorrow. The board's going to let me go, or I'm out, or I'm out. That was the one you had to come up with the $200,000, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But But it's, it's ridiculous. That voice you have to learn how to tame the voice. So how do you do that?
Yep.
You do that through meditation, or you do that through contemplation, or you do that through acknowledgement. And in the book, I give you tips and tricks on how to tame that crazy voice.
Right.
I also give you tips and tricks on how to, number one, master your body, right? Master your language, master your inner voice. So Mitch, do you wake up in the morning and do you tell yourself, how bad the day is going to be? Or do you tell yourself, how great you are and you're going to crush the day? So I'm going to tell you right now that if you wake up and you say, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim, today's going to suck, guess what's going to happen? It's going to suck.
Well, I'm a big believer in vibrational energy because we're all electric. We have electricity. Without that, we're dead. And I really believe that if you do have that negative attitude and you literally attract bad things. There's no opposite of attract. Like, you don't repel things. We don't do that. So while you're trying to be negative, right? And you're like, whoa, me, I don't want that to happen to me. Please, please, please. The world brings it to you. That's exactly what happens. So, well,
actually, let me comment. I'll comment on your repelling thing. You attract. So if you're negative, you attract negativity.
Yeah.
But you repel positivity.
Right. It's the opposite, right? So exactly. They can't get in because all the negative stuff's coming. It's going the other way.
It's right. And look, it's all wavelength. It's all wavelengths, right? So it's all energy, like you said. And certain things have different energies or different wavelengths, and like attracts like. So that's
power of positive thinking is real.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not
but
only
you're right.
positive.
Life is so unpredictable, so stressful. Shit happens. I always say when things are going great, the only bad side about that is life's going to hit you over the head with a 2x4 at some point. You don't know where it's coming from. Could be a health issue with your family or whatever it is. You got to deal with it because that's the sign of life, right? It doesn't stop until we die. That's basically what it is, right? So I think that if you have a positive attitude, you can deal with those things when they do happen because you look at what they call that, the silver lining, the bright side, whatever it is. And other people are walking out with their head down and their posture, right? And they're negative. And who wants to even do business with that person?
Nobody does. Nobody wants to have a conversation with that person, right?
Right.
So
good advice. Good. I like this formula. Good. Fits with my whole philosophy of life, really.
There you go. And so on the external side, it's how do you what's your physiology like? What do you wake up in the morning? Are you smiling? Are you attractive are you approachable? Right. How's your nutrition? How's your supplementation? How's your how's your language when you speak to somebody? What's your crew? What are the people you hang around with? And I go into great detail on all 20 of these points, but for example, the crew. So if you're hanging around, it gets back to the conversation we were just having about negativity. If you're hanging around with 5 people, 6 people, 10 people on a regular basis that are negative, guess what your mindset's going to be?
You're going to flock with the turkeys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or on the other side, if you're hanging around with highly successful people, well, there's a good chance that you're going to
get you charged.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Well, you remember growing up, like you would meet somebody who would get all the girls, or who a girl was always getting a date, and they weren't the best looking person, right? But they were very approachable, always positive. People like to be around them. That's attractive. That's right. And that's the way human beings work. Yeah,
exactly.
I think people that are negative like that, they don't get it. And they're sometimes unwilling to get it. They need medication. I don't know. Sometimes you can't fix things naturally yourself. Yeah, I mean, look, some people are in bad places that they can't get out of.
That's right.
Without help, coaching, mentoring, medication, psychiatry, whatever it is, maybe a combination of those things. They got to change the paradigm,
your energy, change your life,
right? Yeah, change your energy. Yeah. I should introduce you to my friend Nikki. She's mindful, mindset coach, hypnosis, NLP, the whole thing. She's really sweet. And she's, she's really good at helping people real business owners she's working with, right? To change the way that they think about things. Just like you're saying, like looking more positively, not negatively.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So, and other part of the formula is your external, like I said, so nutrition, food, working out, training, and all that,
Right.
all that combined, right? So all success factors are intertwined in my view.
Absolutely.
And then the last part of the formula is taking action. So what do I mean by that? I mean, actually doing personal development, actually reading the books that are up there on that shelf, like Extreme Ownership that teaches you about leadership,
Right.
or going to events. So I'll give you a good event from that Asprey event I was just at. And this is how you get lucky, right? So I was sitting at a table at lunch, and a woman sits right next to my left, and then her son and her daughter and husband sat next to me on the other side.
Right.
Turns out the daughter is the 25th ranked tennis player in the world, and I was like,
there you go.
wow, that's cool. So I started having a cool conversation there.
Pro or for her age?
Pro.
Okay.
Pro. And it turns out the mother, she says, "Oh yeah." I asked her what she did, and she's like, "I'm the president of the Buffalo Sabres." I'm like, "Wow, that's
there you
cool.
go.
Cool." So we were having a hockey
family.
conversation.
There you go.
Exactly.
Right.
And then I looked at her name, and her name was Kim Pagula. And I'm like, hold on a second. You're
Name
not only
familiar?
Yeah, exactly. You're not only the president of the Buffalo Sabres, you own the Buffalo Bills. So
her family owns the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, her and her husband own the Bills. And
Oh,
she's
of course.
president of the Bills as well. But
Okay.
the point is, I'm sitting there, and I'll get to the story at the end of the story in a second, but I'm sitting there and I say hello to the daughter, and I say hello to her, and we're talking. And it turns out that potentially we could be the Buffalo Bills marketing agency because she likes what we're doing on TikTok, right? Because their average clientele is a 50-year-old white man, white male, but TikTok is Gen Z, right?
Right.
So I was
that's
like,
not the future of the Bills. 50-year-old.
No, that's not.
I'm 50 years old. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not the future. The future is Gen Z.
Yeah.
And
they want to reach those people.
Race.
They don't know how to do it.
Absolutely. They don't know how to do it. So we know how to do it. So is that lucky, or is it the fact that I put myself in that position? I put myself there to have that conversation. I actually opened my mouth. Is that lucky, or is that, did I make that
Lucky's a funny word, the way you're using it, because you went out there, you took action, and you were there when the bus ran you over, so to speak. You know what I mean? Now, if somebody didn't do that, they couldn't get that luck because they weren't out there.
Exactly. That's the point. So that's part of the A, which is taking action, which is getting out there. And I find that almost every single event I go to, something serendipitous happens, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I say.
More often than not, right? You go to an event, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad Mark told me to go to that event because I met these two other people. We're going to talk about this. It happens every single time I go to an event or participate. I'm like, I don't really want to jump on that Zoom call. I jump on the Zoom call. Two people are like, listen, we're thinking of bringing our business to the States. We need U.S. counsel. Can you help us? Next thing you know, I got a call with London, yesterday.
There you go.
Call with the guy. Yeah, absolutely. You definitely make your own luck by getting out there. You can't just sit there and buy your lotto ticket and watch the balls drop,
But it's more than just getting out there, right? Then you need to elevate your energy. You need to elevate your language, elevate your mindset.
People want to talk to you. You're attractive to them.
Exactly.
You could have sat there and not said anything, right? They probably wouldn't have, who knows, right?
Nothing would have happened.
So the story's not over, right? We don't have the Buffalo Bills account yet, right?
We don't have the finish line yet. We don't have the finish line.
So you got to keep us informed.
See.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Now, what would you say? Because I think you also had this on your bio. You had I thought it was interesting. Common mistakes that young entrepreneurs make. Is it what we already said, or is there more mistakes they make? Is it all mindset, or
there's a ton of mistakes. I mean, one being the entrepreneur's dilemma, being the ego center and thinking you're the smartest. That's a huge mistake.
Huge.
Understanding how to deal with people. Like when I first got out of the gate, I would call it a lunatic almost in a sense that
high energy guy.
But high energy to the negative side. Whereas now it's the other side. It's, so I would say that young entrepreneurs, for the most part, think they have to lead by fear, when in fact, if you lead by empowerment and positivity and, giving a helping hand is
support the team around you. Yeah,
exactly.
So you weren't always you weren't always this positive. You were not.
Well, I would say that I was
always a positive kind of guy.
And positive, but I would get aggressive. Maybe too short of a fuse. If something wasn't going the right way, or I wouldn't always focus on on the good part, I would always focus on, the what if this happens? What if it doesn't matter anymore? So I've learned over the years to not focus on the what if and focus on the big goal at the end of the line.
Especially since 9 out of 10 of them don't happen. The things that you're worried about very, very rarely happen. I mean, they happen, but they very rarely happen. So, and by the way, worrying about it, it's not going to change the outcome. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Actually, probably worrying about it would change the outcome, you and I believe, because now you're putting negative energy out into the world.
It'll make it happen, right?
It'll guarantee it's going to happen.
That's right.
You know those people, they're always, all these bad things are negative all the time. It just keeps coming at them.
That's right. That's right.
Just lined up. So what does the future hold for you right now? What's going on in your world and stuff?
Well, we're positioning this thing for potential sale over the next year, 2 years, 3 years.
The digital marketing agency.
Digital marketing company, sure. And, I'm really interested in what's happening in the crypto space and NFTs and, in that kind of space.
Great. So, let's talk about shit I don't understand. I kind of understand it.
Well, here, let me help you understand it.
Crypto. And,
let me help you understand it this
NFTs.
way. So you saw what happened in Canada, right? Recently with the whole trucker thing.
Yeah. In Ontario. In Ontario. They blocked the whole city.
They blocked the whole city, and the government, the Canadian government said, okay, this is an illegal thing. So we're going to put in the War Measures Act or the martial law.
Is that what happened?
They put in martial law. So what they were allowed to do for I won't get into what my views are, but what they were allowed to do is basically confiscate and freeze people's money in their accounts. What crypto would have done or what Bitcoin would have done is allowed the government to not go in. They couldn't do that. Right.
So that was a protest, right? Because they didn't want to mandate get vaccinated, but I read a statistic that 90% of the truckers are already vaccinated. Right. So I don't know what the hell they were doing. But, I was at Cornell. It was a big protest. You would walk by a protest and you'd start protesting. You wouldn't know what it was for. So probably the groundswell got them there. But so I understand that. I was talking to a guy the other day. They're trying to work on technology where you could, I may not be saying this right because I told you I don't understand shit about this stuff, but where you could upload or leverage assets digitally through NFTs or whatever. So maybe you could, if you had a $3 million car, you could upload the title or something and then borrow against it in the digital. Yeah. But how do you
exactly.
But the question that I raised, and he said, that's a good question. We got to solve that problem, is that if you and I, let's say I'm in the digital world in the unrestricted space and I lend you money against that car, I don't know, there's no international registry. So if you go to a bank too, to borrow against the car, the bank has no way of checking that I lent you money. It's not recorded. It's not real estate.
How does the car equal the NFT equal the loan? Right. That's what you're saying.
How do you protect the borrower, the lender? Unless it's an international registry and the banks also check the registry and they also check they do UCC searches and they also check the real estate records. I don't know, but that's not there right now. Wasn't there a guy that just sold a house using an NFT in Miami? In Florida, down by you.
Exactly.
Okay, exactly. So let me ask you this question. If I know we're getting a little bit off the topic, but it's fun anyway. The guy he creates this NFT, right? He sold the real estate. It gives the person ownership of the real estate. Is that true?
Look, I don't know how you're tying that NFT to that physical piece of property.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I don't understand that yet, but there's obviously a way, but I don't know how it's done yet. So
because I understand art, right? Yeah. So let's say Van Gogh is an original. The Mona Lisa. And then they create 5 NFTs and only 5 NFTs. Those have value because you have a digital reproduction of right?
Okay, look, that's one of the ways, right? So that's a digital representation of the physical piece of art. Then there's other ways like accessibility. So for example, this NFT gets me access to that restaurant or to that nightclub or to that. Right. So there's one way is accessibility.
Right.
And, being part of a big community. So for example, the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, right? So if you hold one of these Bored Apes, you get access to that community. And that community has some of the most famous basketball players, football players, athletes in the world, actors in the world.
It's like a ticket.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's basically right now accessibility and community and, there's more uses for and ownership, right? So I'm working on one right now that's going to give you fractional ownership to potentially to a yacht. So we're working on that project.
Like
right now.
2 weeks a year or whatever. It's almost like a timeshare type of a thing.
Something like that. Exactly.
Right. Well, that I could leverage. That I could go to this secure platform, let's say, right, and borrow against it, because the borrower, the lender, has actually something of value to use. Exactly. It has nothing to do with if the house is sold, it would come with those NFTs. That, I mean, if the yacht is sold in that case, right?
Exactly. So it's look, it has some merit. We're going through the process right now, but fractional ownership will be a use case as well. And
it's all backed up by blockchain, right? It's
all backed up by blockchain, all on the blockchain, immutable, can't be stolen, can't be taken.
Right.
Just like Bitcoin itself. So the Canadian government wouldn't have been able to go in and, take that property or that asset. Or in this case, because the bank is centralized, they were able to go in and pull funds and freeze funds from these, these Canadian citizens.
Yeah. So if Putin converted all of his wealth to like Bitcoin or other crypto, NATO couldn't freeze his accounts.
Exactly. I'm not sure NATO can freeze his accounts anyway right now, can they?
I don't know. No idea. I'm sure they're freezing someone's. They're doing something. What do we do? Our economic sanctions. So you're invading the country, but now you can't go to the ATM. That's the penalty. I don't really, economic sanctions. It doesn't seem to do what they're trying to do. I don't know. We'll have to see. Are they still invading Ukraine? Is that still going on now?
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Okay. We'll see what his end game is anyway. All right. So luckyformula.com/quiz. We'll put that in the show notes. The book is called The Lucky Formula.
The Lucky Formula. That's correct.
Okay. Available on Amazon. We'll put those links in the show notes. Any parting advice for entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, you brought up a pretty good topic just then is Russia and Ukraine, right? So a word of advice right now would be, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm looking at inflation right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call it, the CPI, what they tell us is 7.5%, but there's no chance it's 7.5 because housing went up 18% last year.
They just changed the basket to adjust.
Of course they changed it. Yeah. Of course. So if you move the basket back to 1980, we're at 25%, right. I think it was like 24%.
It's like anyway, that if you added back in those things.
Yeah. Exactly. Something like that.
Maybe gas by us. I don't know about you. It's over $4 a gallon here.
Yeah, it's close to that.
Crazy.
But here's the point, right? A barrel of oil last year at this time was $60. Now it's over $100. So it's almost a double.
Yeah.
Housing went up 18%.
Right.
Food prices are going up. So inflation's through the roof. Why is that? So what I would say, and how do you protect yourself? So what I would tell an entrepreneur, that's my parting kind of gift. I would tell entrepreneurs right now to understand monetary policy. Start reading about monetary policy, start reading about the Federal Reserve, start reading about geopolitics and how this is going to affect your currency or your cash, because everybody's going to be swept up in this inflation problem. Right. Look, this is the highest it's been in 40 years, and I don't see it getting lower. So how's that going to impact you, your family, and your business? So I would get in front of that if I'm an entrepreneur right now. And I'm doing that, by many means, but I would, I actually had a colleague. We have our weekly Thursday leadership development calls, and we actually went over inflation, which is kind of not a typical company topic. Right. Exactly. Yeah. But I felt that right now it's pertinent because, after Russia attacked Ukraine, oil is going to skyrocket, and 6,000 products across the world are made from oil or with oil, with crude oil. So you don't think those products and the cost of goods are going to go up? Absolutely. So it's going to impact everything we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think people have recognized through the pandemic how globally we are all connected. Mm-hmm. Tremendously, even more so than most people really believed. But, I think with the world you work in and I work in, we knew that. But the craziest things have happened. Remember that boat that flipped in the Suez Canal? It was causing ripple effects all over the world because there were things like that, not even on that boat, that needed to get through the canal. That was, it was craziness. And then
backed up the canal for a week. Exactly.
Yeah, only a week. And it just, it's
Mitch, some would say that was an inside job, but we'll leave it at that.
Could have been, right? Somebody's trying to disrupt. Look, the Russians the only thing Putin wants to do
He didn't try to get Trump elected. He doesn't give a shit about Trump. He wants to cause chaos in the United States so he can keep his wealth and point to his people and say, obviously, my form of democracy, which is really like controlled capitalism, which he controls, is better, obviously, than the United States because they have chaos there and in Britain and all that stuff. That's all that they do. That's all that they want to do. They're not that sophisticated, like they're going to, get somebody elected. They're just putting shit up to make us go nuts. That's all he needs. He wants his money. What's he, a billionaire? He's at a couple $100 billion?
Billion. I would.
It's probably more than they estimate. Right?
I would argue he's the richest guy in the world. That's what I would argue.
Right. They just can't find everything.
Exactly.
Right. Of course not. He's not. Yeah, exactly. So that'll be interesting. So I'll leave it there. I appreciate you coming on, sharing your thoughts and your ideas and your book and the formula and everything like that. And I'd like to keep in touch. I want to know if you get the Buffalo Bills account. That's what we got to find out about that.
All right. Awesome.
All right. I appreciate it, Mark.
Hey, Mitch, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon Music, and many of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com. The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted and produced by me, Mitch Beinhacker. If you'd like more information about my legal services, you can find me on social media or visit my website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.